Welcome back, everyone. It is Sunday sit-down time. We've got Mizzou basketball alum Jarrett Sutton in the house with us for Sunday sit-down. I'm sure you've also seen him on your TV screen quite a few times these past few weeks here. Jarrett, thanks for making the time. It's hectic season. How's it been going for you?
It's been good. Thanks for having me. It's always good to be on Sunday sit down. Exciting to have college basketball in full swing and year two under Dennis Gates. A lot of excitement with the fan base. So always fun talking Tiger hoops.
Right. Well, you've been there for a couple games this season now. Kind of tell me the overall look at this team this year. Obviously, it looks a little bit different than last year. You lost some big pieces there in Demoy and Kobe. But what's your overall thoughts on this team this year?
Yeah, so far, I mean, it's a different non-conference schedule. They've scheduled differently than year one. Obviously, losing two real NBA players in Kobe Brown and Demoy Hodge, and obviously DeAndre Golston and Isaiah Mosley and Trey Gomillion have gone on and are playing professionally as well. But you lost quite a few guys. But ultimately, you have some tie over from last year's team with Noah Carter, Nick Honor, and Sean East returning. Those three guys that were really three focal points, and then Aiden Shaw, who's a very talented young athletic wing forward that does just kind of a little bit of everything on defense. So you're bringing back some good pieces and then adding transfers that were impact transfers at their previous stops. Caleb Grill, good shooter. Tamar Bates, great athlete, can play both ends of the floor. Connor Vanover, who's a great player at Oral Roberts, has a history in the SEC when he played at Arkansas. And then, we'll see what happens with John Tanji just coming back from injury. I still think he's trying to find his way. So I feel like there's still a lot of moving parts right now, but they've been able to find really quality wins. The win at Pitt, the win at Minnesota, those are two really good road game wins, true road tests that this team passed. And I know, Missouri's loss to Jackson State at home was a bad loss. There's no other way to say it. They struggled. The Memphis loss, a really bad second half. But like we saw in year one under Dennis Gates, let's see where this team is at come Christmas time, come league play. Because it felt like last year they kept getting better and better. And every time they had a loss, they would learn from it, and they would grow from it. And they started to become a different team by the time we got to SEC play. I'm curious if that's going to be what it's like this year. Coach Gates continues to mess with the lineup, as he always does. And I think he's trying to find that rotation and what guys are going to come in and make an impact and be efficient with their minutes to help this team win games. But ultimately, it's a solid start under year two for Coach Gates with returners and some newcomers that are still gelling together. They're playing some better basketball and a lot in store for this team as the season continues to unfold.
He's talked so much about how this non-conference schedule to start the year is so much tougher than last year. Last year starting 10-0 and now obviously a couple losses under the belt. But to have that kind of competition so early on, how important do you think that is for this team?
Oh, it's very important, and I think when he scheduled this season, this non-conference slate, and knowing what he was bringing in on the transfer market, and I haven't even hit on the freshmen who I think have done a tremendous job. Anthony Robinson is going to be a really good player and really knows who he is. Jordan Butler, a true 7-footer that can step out and play in kind of a modern game and a system that Dennis Gates has that really allows all five guys on the floor to showcase themselves and shoot the ball. Which is a big part of this scheme and what they try to do on offense. Trent Pierce is coming along. I still think he's going to be a very good player for this team over time. He's still kind of getting his feet wet and learning his ways and trying to earn some minutes. But I think when you look at the guys they brought in, they've been in big-time environments. This is an older team, which is great. As it's kind of been known now around college basketball the last couple of years, getting older means you're finding ways to win games. You have guys that have been around that understand what it takes to win in big-time college basketball. And we saw that last year with this team. They were a little bit they were young, but they had a lot of newcomers, and they had some guys that were returning, and a guy like Kobe Brown that really led the team. This year's team is so much more different, but I think Coach Gates scheduled this to have this be a little bit more challenging for this team early on. He wanted to see what they were made of instead of waiting 10 games in to really get tested. He wanted to put them through more of a test early on, especially on the road. And they responded and answered the call a few times. So that's great to see. There's a lot more tests ahead. Get games on the schedule. Some really good teams lie ahead before we even get to league play. So ultimately, it's kind of a wait and see how they continue to grow together. They're getting better. There's little things that I like in how they're forcing turnovers, how they're moving the ball, how they're playing in transition. Their pace has been good. Defending and rebounding is always going to be a hot topic for Coach Gates. but he's finding ways, and that's what he always does in terms of changing his defense and playing different styles for different opponents, and I don't think that's going to change this year either.
Well, you know Coach Gates. I know Coach Gates. I know he's circling those dates, in April. He wants to get to the national championship. That's what he's talked about since he's gotten here. When you look at realistic expectations for Mizzou this year, obviously you'd think the standard would be making the NCAA tournament again. What do you get a sense of what the goal is this year? Do you think trying to at least get past maybe where they got last year, obviously?
I think when you look at last year, it was one game at a time type of mentality. They got blown out by Kansas. Then they went and won a tough game in overtime at Wichita State. They got better. They were able to handle Illinois and St. Louis at bragging rights, and then they beat Kentucky to start league play at home and led wire to wire and just took Kentucky out of everything they wanted to do. And that was when Kentucky was loaded with arguably one of the best bigs in the SEC in college basketball and an elite guard in Casey Wallace. So this team, I think when you look at Coach Gates and just how he wants to really work the team through the year, it's one game at a time, and it's keep building, keep stacking games, stacking wins. I think in terms of expectations, this team has pieces. It just how quick they can get up to speed. I think the freshmen do have to help them. Freshmen are going to have to play. Anthony Robinson is going to have to play. Jordan Butler's going to have to play. Connor Vanover's got to give this team something with his size and his ability to stretch it. And the transfers got to really emerge and take on some sort of role in terms of adding some production, scoring the ball, and helping out Sean East and Nick Honor and Noah Carter, who are the three guys that really need to be consistent. And then hopefully Aiden Shaw can continue to improve game by game. He's had some really good moments. He's had some moments where he struggled, but he's such an important piece to this team. I think when you get into league play, anything is possible. This league is wide open. Tennessee, Kentucky, yeah, they're probably going to be the two teams at the top. Auburn's pretty solid. But as we've seen in SEC play, a lot of these teams have dropped games just like Mizzou dropped to Jackson State. So I do think it's the league-wise, that's when you really find out if you're an NCAA tournament team, is if you can go on the road in league play and win games. We'll see if they can do that. They've won 2 true road games, going to Pitt, going to Minnesota. Those are 2 very difficult places to play. And Pitt just had a good win the other night in their ACC Big 12 Challenge. So you look at where Mizzou's at, I still think there's a lot to be desired. There's a lot to really try to learn about this team over the coming weeks. They got some big challenges, but really it's league play where you really can decide, is this team good enough to get over the hump to be in the NCAA tournament? That remains to be seen, but they do have the pieces to do it, and they're older and they're experienced. So I'm not going to write them out as not being an NCAA tournament team, but they do got to show some things, and they got to find ways to keep improving, and they're going to have some quality opponents that lie ahead, and that's going to decide everything for them this season.
Right. Well, before we sat down here, we were just talking about the excitement around Mizzou athletics. It's kind of nice to see you being a Mizzou alum yourself. I have to ask you, what did you think when go to the Cotton Bowl? I mean, what did you think about seeing all that for the Tiger football team?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, I'm having flashbacks to us beating Oklahoma State in the Cotton Bowl. Flashbacks to my era, 08 to 12, with Tony Temple running all over Arkansas in the Cotton Bowl as well. So, the fact it's Cotton Bowl and it's Ohio State, it's a big game. I think when you look at where Mizzou's at athletically, Desiree Reed-Francois has done an absolutely fantastic job in terms of how she's run the athletic department, the programs, the improvements to the football and basketball facilities, the in-game experience, the excitement around Mizzou athletics is so high. She deserves a ton of credit. So happy for Eli Drinkowitz, SEC Coach of the Year. So happy for Brady Cook and this football program that was overlooked. I love the swagger and the chip on the shoulder that they had all year and just trying to prove people wrong. And they still got more to prove. And, great 10-win season, really made noise in the SEC. Hopefully basketball can continue to do that. But just, the excitement that last year brought with Mizzou basketball making the NCAA tournament, winning an NCAA tournament game, and the momentum for football to start the year. Anytime football can get off on the right note, it's always a great thing, and hopefully basketball can kind of carry the mantle, just like we did in my era, the Chase Daniel teams with Jeremy Macklin and those guys. They always kind of set the tone to start the academic calendar year, and then we always had the pressure on our backs to kind of take the lead with basketball and keep building, and that's what makes a great athletic program, and that's what makes Mizzou so special.
Well, those were some fun teams to watch. This has been a fun team to watch. You're also fun to watch on air, Jarrett. We're looking forward to seeing you on air coming up here soon. Thanks for making the time. I know it's a hectic time of year for you.
Well, thanks so much. Happy holidays. Thanks for having me.
Yep. For the rest of you guys, we'll be right back after the break.